The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Hello, Cherries fans, and welcome back to Cherry Picking. And tonight, as always, I'm joined by, well, actually, it's me hosting for a change. It's usually the man below me that's hosting. But tonight, myself and Craig are joined by Malcolm. Malcolm, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good, thanks.
Excellent. And Mr. Beazley, how about yourself? How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Busy week. But yeah, all good.
Cool. And I'm sure, as everybody's seen already, this episode is called GEORDIE Connections. Obviously, with the Newcastle game coming up this weekend, we thought we'd have a little bit of a look back at some players that have played for Newcastle and Bournemouth over the years. We'll have a look a bit about Eddie Howe and do a little bit of reminiscing as we do. And also, we will also touch on a bit of latest ladies news as well that's come out at the club this week, and get both Malcolm and Craig's opinions on that. But to start with, before we get going, as always, we've got our guest, the Cherry. So, Craig, did you want to give the clues?
Yeah, go for it. So, our Cherry was born in November 1977. He began his youth career with Charlton Athletic. He signed for the Cherries in 1998 under Mel Machin. Played over 170 times during an injury-hit spell. After leaving the Cherries, he had a spell at Weymouth as a player and a manager and returned to Dean Court under Jimmy Quinn. Who is the Cherry? Leave it in the description box below. Sorry, the comments box below, I should say. You can't comment in the description box, but in the comment section below. If you're watching it for the first time, don't cheat. Just answer. Just answer and don't look at everybody else's answers that might be right. There you go.
Yeah. Malcolm, any idea who that might be?
I haven't got a clue, mate. 1998, when he signed for the Cherries, I wasn't in GB, so...
You'll kick yourself, though, when the answer comes out at the end.
I probably will do, actually.
I think I know who it might be, and it might be somebody who I've spoken to before, but I'm going to keep my mouth zipped, albeit not on the show.
Well, cracking kit he's got on there, and a lovely pair of feeler boots as well. But anyway, moving swiftly on, let's get on to some recent news then that's come out of the club. And Helen has got the job as the head coach of the Bournemouth's women team. We'll just have a look what the article said on the club website. AFC Bournemouth is delighted to announce that Helen Blizzard has taken the role as head coach of the women's first team until the end of the season. Blizzard announced after her retirement from playing in the summer as she now steps into the dugout to guide the team through an important phase of its development. Speaking on her appointment, Blizzard said, "It's a huge honour to take charge of AFC Bournemouth women. This club has given so much to me over the past few years, and I'm excited to help continue its growth. We have a talented, ambitious squad, and I'm looking forward to working with the players to achieve our goals this season. The women's team have enjoyed a successful start to life under Blizzard with 3 wins and a draw in the opening league games." So, guys, I think really personally from my personal perspective. Obviously, I know I don't
Hmm.
follow the women as religiously as some people, but I think from looking at their results recently and following their results each week, I think it was inevitable that she was going to get the job. Malcolm, would you agree that she's the best one for the job?
Certainly, she's obviously gone in and just carried on with what's happened over the past couple of seasons. Obviously, they've strengthened the squad, and the results already have proved, that she's capable of getting in at that level, and hopefully, may it long continue. But
Yeah.
it's certainly for me is a brilliant appointment to the end of the season. Not like a limited contract thing. That maybe might blow out some months down the line. Who knows? But that she has now been appointed. So that's
Yeah.
you got a steady ship now. We know what we got. Let's keep it going, girls, because they're doing brilliantly.
Yeah, no, they are doing fantastically well. Craig, do you reckon as a manager, she's obviously gone in as interim, but do you reckon she's gone in there and obviously not ripped up the blueprint that was already there and has just took it on under her own sort of leadership?
Yeah, I think so. Steve Cuss did such a good job with the women's team. Of course, getting them promoted last season, coming very, very close to the year before, being consistent and bringing the signings in as well, and sensible signings that's going to make us better and better. It's a no-brainer to actually bring Helen into the fold and make sure that she's the full-time manager, considering the start she's had. Of course, 3 wins, 1 draw. That draw against Exeter, is the only, if you call it a blotch on the blueprint at this moment in time. But yeah, she's shown, and it looks like, as you can see in that picture there, that all the players respect her and appreciate her work. And long may it continue. The women's game is getting bigger and bigger, of course, and I think it was a massive, massive, massive jump. And I don't really want to make this all about another club, but, Arsenal, of course, playing at the Emirates, Everton playing at Goodison Park, it signals that the women's game is just getting bigger and better all the time. And who knows? Who knows? Let's stick with what works and try and get ourselves up to that level, because our girls playing at those sort of stadiums, those iconic stadiums, that's where they want to be. Rather than Exeter, it's going to take a little bit of time. History dictates that it's a fairly new women's team that we've got, but they can do it. And in the current trajectory, who would bet against them?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm very excited actually, because I've just got my tickets for my first ladies game at Dean Court, so I'm very excited about that. Very excited to see the ladies in action.
Yes.
Yes, against Oxford United, sorry, under the lights. So, under the lights at Dean Court, sure will be a great atmosphere. And I think last time they had over 6,000. Was it over 6,000 spectators there?
They did, yeah. It's a great attendance, really, considering the women's game. Of course, it's not as established as the men's game, and I hate to say that. I hate to say that, because you hear all these people criticizing the women's game. All these people that are so blinkered and so obnoxious and so one-minded. The women's game is getting better and better, and the talent, is getting better as well. The way they're playing, the way that the game is being read, and from seeing what our team can do, they're an exciting team. They're an exciting team that can go far. I personally think, from what I have seen so far, and I followed the women's team a little bit so far this season. I've got to be honest, I'm not in the same category as some people, where I've watched games in their entirety. But from what I have seen, they seem to be in a division which is, too low for them. So based on that, let's get promoted out of it. I'm sure Helen will do that. And we will have those chances to play at Goodison Park, at the Emirates, and wherever else against some of the best in the country.
Yeah, no, definitely. And just before we move on to the next bit of ladies' news, Malcolm, your thoughts on the star player at the moment in the women's team? Is it Sophie Quirk?
Sophie Quirk, yeah, she's a new signing. Has come in. Say again.
Sorry, what an impact I've seen that she's made on.
Yeah,
the
absolutely. So once again, it's recruitment, isn't it?
Yeah.
The people doing their jobs, getting the right people in. So obviously, there is a project going on there. I'm just loving it. I mean, I do watch quite a lot of the WSL,
Yes.
so the Women's Super League, and boy, I'd love to see Bournemouth being amongst them. I really would.
Yeah.
I did say not too long back. I said 5 years. Could we be up in the Super League? It's a possibility, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt. And like you say, with the way the recruitment is and the coaching staff and how good they've been, it definitely looks like it could well be on track for that, doesn't it?
And I tell you what would be also good as well is I think when we get to that level, I think the ladies team will not be playing at Ringwood. I don't like this where the ladies teams play at a different ground. I think that we'll bring the ladies team back to playing at Dean Court on a regular basis to give the local residents the best chance of seeing some of the best talent out there. The likes of for example, Chloe Kelly coming to Dean Court to play our women's team. It's very possible, and I think 5 years is realistic. I think we could probably do it in a double quick time, really.
Yeah, well, time will tell, won't it? But it looks like it's definitely on track. But I think a vital piece of the jigsaw may have also been completed this week by the appointment of Bruce. Now, I'm going to try and say it right. Bruce Sirachi. Yeah, Bruce Sirachi being appointed the ladies, the women's head of women's football at the football club. So just a quick piece that's come out about this week. The Cherries have appointed Bruce Sirachi as the club's new head of women's football. Sirachi has been at AFC Bournemouth for more than a decade, most recently as academy head of coaching and development, under 9 to under 21s, spending 8 years with the academy. This has seen him prepare, coach for the first team environments with other previous positions, including lead development phase coach, under 12 to 14, and lead foundation phase coach as well. Sirachi told afcb.co.uk, having spent nearly 11 years in the academy and seeing it go from category 3 to a category 1 application, it feels like the right moment in my life to look at other opportunities within the club. Not only is women's football clearly on the rise, but the chance to help women and young girls aspire to craft a profession out of their passion aligns with my beliefs. The rise of the women's football team here at AFC Bournemouth has been fantastic over the previous years, and we have a group of players and staff with an outstanding togetherness and a great mentality. I'm thoroughly looking forward to being a part of the setup and continuing the excellent growth we have seen in recent times. Before joining the Cherries, Siraj was at Portsmouth as an academy coach and was academy director at Portsmouth College. There he coached and taught on the BTEC Performance and Excellence programme, and he also held leadership roles at the Hampshire Girls Centre of Excellence and was a coach of both the men's and women's teams at the University of Portsmouth. He has a UEFA A licence, the FA Advanced Youth Award, and a postgraduate diploma in elite coaching development. He is currently doing a doctorate in sports, exercise and health at the University of Portsmouth. So, guys, it sounds like a vital piece of the jigsaw. It probably does need someone with how it's growing to be the head of the women's football department at the club to oversee all age groups, from the women's first team all the way down to the lower levels. But do you think that this is something that's going to now help spur the ladies across the whole board, across the whole club on? Malcolm, do you want to go first on this one?
He's certainly got the background for it, hasn't he? So much experience, and with his qualifications, why not? And it's good that he's actually chosen to go from academy to the women's. Yeah, that all those years' experience, and if he can transition that, what he's obviously taught the youngsters. I mean, obviously it's different age groups and everything. He must know the setup. So, for him, it was a no-brainer. Obviously, he wants to stay within the club, some function or another, and he's got that opportunity now. I just think it's very, very cool. Really, it's just another positive step.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Craig, what's your opinion on this? I think it's personally a good move. Obviously, he knows the club like the back of his hand. He's got, like Malcolm's just touched on there, he's got all the relevant qualifications. He's dealt with both the men's game and the ladies' game, so he seems well qualified to do this role.
Yeah, most definitely. He spent almost, I believe, 11 years at AFC Bournemouth, spending the last 8 years in the academy, getting it to the point where it was, which, let's be honest, when we was promoted to the Premier League the first time round, our academy, the youth players coming through, we would have the odd trickle. We would have, the odd player that would come right through and, really shine. And, we worked with what we had at the time. So he's seen it go from that to where it is today. So this is the next step, really, in his plans moving forwards. But you've also got to look at what he's done pre AFC Bournemouth as well, and what he's actually done is incredible. He was at Portsmouth for a period of time as well, at a time which was, let's be fair, was a little bit rocky for that football club. Of course, when they got relegated from the Premier League, he managed to actually go there and, was helping get players ready, which, if you look at it this way, yeah, they a relegated Premier League side, but Portsmouth went all the way down to League Two, and he would have been responsible for coaching a number of those players who then had to go into that League Two side, a club that didn't really have much money, to actually pull that club back out of where it was at that point. And of course, they're back in the Championship now, Pompey. So he's done a lot in his career. There's a lot, that, and I think he will be a real asset for the ladies team and be able to bring them on. I think with the academy level 1, being sought at this moment in time, he's left us in a great place to then take on the women's team, and of course we'll be able to transition what has been so successful for the men's team across, because what we've produced in the past 10 years has been a lot better than what we'd produced beforehand. So he's done a very, very good job so far, and I think he'll be an asset moving forwards.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And some good points there about when he was obviously at Portsmouth. So definitely looks like he's got the pedigree for the job, and I'm sure he's going to be very successful. Right, guys, obviously we know the game at the weekend is obviously bringing back an icon to the club, someone who will always be in a Bournemouth fan's heart. So to hear about the game and our match preview side of things, obviously we do have the Dean Court social for that. So if you haven't checked that out, do check that out. That will be live on the channel already. But let's have a little bit of a reminisce before we get going. We're going to take a look at the tactical puzzle for Eddie. As Iraola has the upper hand on the Cherries icon, but I know that there'll be some stuff that people want to get out of their systems and have a little bit of a reminisce. So this is the time for it. Malcolm, I'm going to let you go first because we may run out of recording time if Craig goes first. So, Malcolm, seeing Eddie come back to Dean Court is always a nice thing. We always kind of I'm sure we all keep an eye on Newcastle's results and hope Newcastle do well. So great to see him back at the club this weekend, Malcolm.
Definitely. I think most fans actually do show an awful lot of interest in, how he's progressing at Newcastle. Not an easy task for what he's taken on, but bless him, he took the time out, didn't he, from football, and then he come back in and batteries recharged, fully focused. Yeah, I take my hat off to him and can only wish him success. I mean, he always gets a nice warm welcome when he's back at Dean Court. You forget the rivalries. You simply concentrate on the legend that he is at Bournemouth. Always will be. So, yeah, very odd that he can't seem to get one over on us on the pitch. But hey ho.
So let's hope that continues. But before I let Craig come in, because I'm going to give Craig a time limit. But before I let Craig come in, I do remember Eddie making his debut. I remember it was my birthday. It was my 10th birthday against Hull City, and this young lad was playing right back. I think Younger must have been injured. But obviously, then watching him from then on, get more and more experienced in the team, becoming the first team regular, becoming first team captain. I remember his goal in the FA Cup for West Brom. I have a lot of fun memories of him as a player, scoring the winning penalty at Blackburn in the League Cup, the old Carling Cup, I think it was called at the time, when Blackburn were in the Premier League. So a lot of memories of him as a player. Obviously, as a manager, well, there's nothing I can say that nobody else has already said. But what a journey that was. I do tend to keep an eye on him at Newcastle. I think Newcastle's now probably the second result I tend to check if I'm looking for results, just to see how he's getting on. Obviously, we don't want him to get one over us on us this coming weekend, but we will definitely keep an eye on him. What an icon for the club, and I do believe that one day he will probably have a stand named after him. The club will recognise him when the time is right. But Craig, you have got 2 minutes to reminisce before we're going to start looking at the tactical side of things.
It's not going to happen.
It's not.
You got 2 minutes, because I am just going to shut you off after 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes starting now.
The man is an absolute legend, a god. Took over from Jimmy Quinn all those years ago, -17. We were on our arse. He come in, he brought Steve Fletcher back. He got the centre of attention as his number 2. And he took us on what was a magical journey. Yes, he went to Burnley. He come back. What he did was he engaged with the fans. He brought everybody together. He was sensible. He gelled players. Also ran to other clubs like Steve Cook, Simon Francis, Tommy Elphick. He gelled them into players that were a team that were united on the pitch. Hey, bring Harry Arter through 40,000. Yes, please. He turned him into a player who was, outstanding. Took us to the Premier League. We didn't imagine that it was ever going to happen. Everybody thought that we was going to get relegated after one season. Of course, we had Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe had different ideas. We didn't get relegated for a further 4 seasons. And in all honesty, it was all down to COVID why we did get relegated. Oh, and somebody else as well who let him really down. But Eddie Howe is a god, a legend, the man. Everybody's favourite second team, Newcastle, have become, if anybody bets against Newcastle, and Bournemouth aren't involved in that game, of course, we won't win this weekend, then they are a traitor. But I tell you what, Eddie Howe, God, the master, it is like, well, it's like having Margot Robbie and then she leaves and then you're having to look at her from afar, but you're still admiring the job that she's doing. That is Eddie Howe. There we are. I'm sure Eddie will be was that 2 minutes?
10
just
seconds.
over.
10 seconds, 5 seconds free. 2, 1. That's it. Sorry, Craig, but thank you. It was
that's
nice.
All right.
It was nice to hear you get so many words in 2 minutes.
I tell you what, I just crammed it all in. I could talk for days. If you give me another 2 minutes, I can, cram.
I can't believe you just said that.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, you're not going to get another 2
Oh,
minutes.
okay. I'll shut up then.
I'm sure you'll be able to make some more points as we talk about the tactical side of things.
Yes.
So, let's just have a quick look then at this. Then, so obviously, Eddie hasn't got the better over us. In the league. Andoni seems to be a bit of a puzzle for him. But just to set the scene. So yeah, the competitive history. The two clubs have met numerous times in the Premier League and domestic cups, and their record is fairly balanced over the years. Matches often feature tactical battles, especially with Howe's influence on both teams. So let's just have a quick look and remember the last time out. So the last time out, we absolutely destroyed them at St. James Park, and at the time we had, I would suppose, what we would call a bit of a fringe squad. I think the whole bench, apart from maybe one or two players, were virtually development squad players. So why did it stand out? Well, a stunning away performance by Bournemouth with a hat-trick from Justin Cliver. Newcastle, despite being favourites, which they were at the start of the game, they were favourites to pick up the 3 points, were overwhelmed by Bournemouth's pace and precision. The impact, one of Newcastle's heaviest home defeats in recent seasons, shaking up their top 4 ambitions. Guys, that was some epic game. I think that one and the Nottingham Forest one for me from last season were the two that really will always stick in my mind for how we picked a team apart. Craig, I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah.
How would you rate that performance last season? Out of all the great performances that there were last season, where if you were ranking, say, I don't know, 1 to 5, 5 being the lowest, first being the 1 being the best, where in that kind of category would this game come?
To be honest, I'm going to go one further. I think this was our best performance in the entirety of our Premier League history. I honestly do. Newcastle were firing on all cylinders. They were looking good. And we went up there and we just tore them apart. It wasn't because Newcastle were poor. And that's the thing that, really does it for me. We were just brilliant. And, we managed to find net 4 times. I would say, and dare I even say it, the only time when really we've been comparable, because I don't think Nottingham Forest played particularly well when we beat them 5-0, although we were, again, at our best. I wouldn't say it was as good as this game. What I would also turn around and say, though, is, we can do this on multiple occasions. And I think we've shown fairly recently, yes, it might have only been a 1-0 win, but, against Spurs recently, I think that's up there with this. But this was something else. Justin was unplayable on the day. Newcastle had tons and tons of talent. Honestly, I think this will be looked back at for years and years and years as one of the best performances. I personally think it is probably our best performance in the Premier League.
Big statement that. And there's been a lot of great performances in the Premier League, but yeah, I can totally see why you say that. Malcolm, you got the same shirt on there as they've got on during that game. What's your views? Where does it stand out for you?
It's got to be up there with the best. It was awesome. I mean, I think Newcastle, they were on an unbeaten run. Was it 10 or 11 games?
Yeah, about that, I think.
So they were flying. They were flying, and obviously, pundits and everybody, they say, "Oh, this is the next one." And of course, Isak, he was on his goal scoring run as well, and he didn't get a look in. It was the energy and the press and the work rate of the Bournemouth team from 1 to 11. They just completely overrun. And Newcastle was such a dominant midfield. They just had no answers. They just had no answers. 3-1, I thought this is great. I was loving every minute of it. and you think you're going down to the last 5 minutes, counting the clock down, and then suddenly you've got Kirky's out on the left, who's done an 80-yard or 60 to 80-yard sprint
Oh yeah,
to get that fourth goal. Just shows the mentality, and that mentality was right through the squad on that day. And I think I'm right in believing we actually only had 12 players available. The rest were, like you say, academy or whatever. So, wow. Yeah, it'll certainly live long in the memory, that game. Wonderful, wonderful.
yeah, definitely. It's one that's going to stay in the memory of all of us, I think, for a very, very long time. But let's now have a look at the two managers. Obviously, their career stats, and as you can see there, obviously Howe's managed over 200 games more than Andoni. But when you look at their win and their losses, I think from my point of view, I think Andoni's kind of on the same track as Eddie in terms of games that he's won and points he's picked up. I mean, if you look at the win percentage, he's on 38.8%, whereas Eddie's on 42.28. Obviously, I know Eddie's played more games than him, but I think that there does show a sign of two very, very good managers. I don't know whether you guys want to pick up on anything on this, but Craig, if you want to go first. But,
yeah, I think, it shows two outstanding managers. On the left-hand side, you've got a manager who, has taken a club from a lowly League Two position all the way to the top flight. He is now managing a very, very good Newcastle team, don't get me wrong. But, remember when he went in there, they were on their backside after a poor job done by Steve Bruce. So Eddie Howe, is, the master, in my honest opinion, to get a club like us from League Two all the way into the Premier League. It was no mean feat. I know some people turn around and say that we threw money at it. We didn't. We didn't have no money. It's a ridiculous statement when people say that. So yeah, a tremendous manager. But you look at Andoni Iraola. Now, Andoni Iraola, of course, has managed, a couple of clubs already. Rayo Vallecano are a modest, very small club in Spain, but he's got them to La Liga. He's beaten both of the big boys in the past as well. He's come here, and when I very first said at the start, I said I don't think we've got the players to actually play the style that Andoni Iraola wants. How wrong was I? Andoni managed to turn those players that, we did think weren't capable of doing that into players that were capable of doing that, and shows what a good manager he is. And, he's brought on players' careers at this football club, left, right, and centre. So don't look too much at those win percentages too. Both these managers are absolutely legends at this football club. One, both legends, in the here and now. But I personally think you can't really make, there's some people that say Andoni's better than Eddie, and some people say Eddie's better than Andoni. I think it's two different scenarios, and yeah, both of them really have to be appreciated for what they've done.
Yeah, I mean, I think really the way I see it is that you've got one manager with a legacy, and you've got another manager that's building a legacy.
Agree.
Malcolm, I hope you're still awake down there. Over to you.
I am.
Over to you.
Yeah, what can I say? Both brilliant managers. Slightly different styles of football. I mean, obviously what Eddie did was absolutely superb. But hey ho, now we got chaos football with Andoni, and we're loving it. It's just so intense. It's just so the physicality of it. It's another step up. It really is another step up. And tactically as well, his awareness of what's going on, the changes he makes. I mean, he's surprised us so many times in the couple of years he's been with us. We're scratching our heads now. Why has he picked that team to start? Or and the reasons always come in later on in the match. He's made his changes and say that's why I've done it. Hasn't always worked out, obviously, but considering his slow start, you can't take anything away from the guy, because once they got that first win against Burnley under their belt, confidence was suddenly there. It was just that missing statistic, really, wasn't it? Getting a win.
Yeah.
So, and then never look back. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Love the guy to bits. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally agree, and it did click into place, didn't it, after that Burnley game? And like you say, Malcolm, no turning back. But this is what the guys have said about each other, and about their teams. And Andoni said that, and this was pre the St James's fixture last season. And he said that they're flying high and very tough to play against, which at the time they were. And Eddie said at the time that he likes how they play and their spirit is undeniable. Guys, do you think? I mean, I say, do you think? But don't you think that shows the level of respect that both these guys have actually got for each other?
Absolutely.
I do also believe that I think Eddie did at one point go out when he had his a period out the game, and he was going around, like he went and spent time with Diego Simone and a few other managers. I think he did spend a little bit of time with Andoni as well, or they had dinner together or something. So I think there is a mutual respect there, and I think comments like that just shows it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think, both of them appreciate exactly what they've done. Andoni will be aware of what Eddie's done at this football club, and, will give massive respect to him for that. He'll know what he's done at Newcastle. And again, massive, massive, massive respect. He knows that Eddie Howe is the Messiah, the legend at AFC Bournemouth. So Andoni will always show respect. As long as he's AFC Bournemouth manager, he will always show respect to Eddie Howe, and without a shadow of a doubt. Eddie Howe, though, on the spin side, wants AFC Bournemouth, no doubt, to do well. It's like one of those situations. If Newcastle win the league, Eddie Howe would want AFC Bournemouth to be second. Likewise, if AFC Bournemouth were going to win the league, we'd quite like Newcastle to be second in the league. So Eddie shows that mutual respect. He loves this football club, as much as we all do. And no doubt, there will be, quite a few handshakes, quite a few hugs with people around the ground on Sunday. But once the ball is on the pitch, both of these men will know it's their business to get the 3 points for their side. I don't buy into this, Eddie goes easy on us. Eddie doesn't go easy on us, but I think Eddie is maybe conscious, maybe there is a conscious thought in his head of, AFC Bournemouth. He probably hates this fixture himself. He probably hates it. Even though he likes seeing everybody, he probably hates it because he has got so much love for the club. But no doubt he won't be going easy on us.
No, I totally disagree with those kind of comments. He's a professional. He wants to win the game, and so going easy on us is something.
He probably hates it though. He probably hates coming up against us.
Yeah, he probably does. Malcolm,
Two
here. Yeah, I know you are. two true professionals there, but obviously with, like, we've just saying there, a lot of mutual respect.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, fans of Bournemouth, they should be so honoured to have had Eddie as ex-manager and now Andoni. Two great managers who've done the club proud. And without them two, where would we be? Well, we wouldn't, would we? So Yeah, here, and take my hat off to them both. Yeah, respect them both. Yeah,
Yeah,
can't add any more. Too many superlatives.
yeah. No,
I tell you what, without Eddie Howe, I know where we'd be. We'd probably be playing Maidenhead away this weekend.
yeah,
You know,
probably.
that shows exactly what this man did for this football club.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. So a tactical chess match between these two managers, and it looks like Andoni's been playing with the sharper pieces. So Andoni Iraola's tactical edge has evolved into a high energy, tactically fluid side. His approach blends Spanish positional play with vertical aggression. And his formation fluidity is typically starts in a 4-3-3, but morphs into a 4-1-5 in attack, pushing number eights high into pockets that confuse opposition midfielders. Pocket play, his midfielders position themselves between the lines, dragging defenders and opening space for wingers or inverted fullbacks. And his fullback rotations invert or overlap to create overloads, either dragging markers inside or forming 2v1s on the flanks. And direct verticality, long balls from deep target. These overloads often winning first or second balls to sustain pressure. Now, I think that pretty much describes Andoni's kind of style over the course of 90 minutes. Malcolm, why do you think tactically Eddie has struggled possibly with Andoni's tactics?
You try playing against that. Simply, sorry, but nobody's worked it out, really, have they? I mean,
I
obviously, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in every game. But if you go in like, okay, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Eddie against Andoni, um, yeah, we've had the upper hand recently. Um, it's difficult to play against. How can
yeah,
you how can you expect to sustain the intensity of Andoni's side? Yeah, you
yeah,
want your breaks as well as an opposition. You want to try and get at Bournemouth, but as soon as you've got the ball, which is what Bournemouth want you to do, they're
yeah,
on them. Yeah, so
yeah,
it is so difficult to play against that system.
yeah, no,
Um,
definitely.
you you obviously need the breaks in the game to be able to at least create something. You know, so yeah, it's always
Yeah,
a tough call. I mean, don't forget the 1-1 draw last season at home. Okay, the pitch is not quite St James's Park, is it? So, and we won't go into the VAR decision at the end, but that just shows you that they are possibly, close to beating us.
yeah,
But it's on the day. Sorry, it is on the day. It's a form thing, and who knows? But it is very difficult to play against
yeah,
with
no,
this system that Andoni's got.
yeah. And Craig, we're going to look at it from another perspective. Um,
Yes.
we're going to look at it from Eddie's perspective. So, Howe's tactical challenge. He's obviously a Cherries legend and now the Newcastle boss, but he faced a depleted squad when he faced Andoni's Bournemouth,
Mhm.
which Andoni's obviously Bournemouth outplayed him. But despite Howe's reputation for structured pressing and wide overloads, Iraola's dynamic midfield rotations and aggressive transitioned exposed gaps. So on that one, why do you think possibly, or how, or what has Eddie got to do you think in Eddie's style of play to overcome Andoni? I think that's the question for you.
Yeah, it's a very difficult question to answer because, of course, the high press has been working with us for us all season so far. You know, we do have, and it seems like Andoni has a little bit more ability and a bit more in the locker this season to switch things over. You know, I've noticed that already in the games that we've played. I think what they need to do is they probably need to adapt to the way that we are playing, because we are, you know, we've got the momentum at this moment in time. Eddie knows that, you know, the flanks, they're very good at Newcastle. I think he's going to have to. I think he's going to have to play a similar sort of way, get the ball up the pitch very, very quickly. They're going to have to win the balls back at the back, against, you know, our high press. They're going to have to keep Evan Nielsen quiet, because as much as Evan Nielsen, you know, is not the prolific goal scorer that some people moan about that, whilst he's not prolific, he does also a lot more as well. He's a bit like, he's becoming a little bit like Dominic Solanke, but in a bit of a different style of Dominic Solanke. So they're going to have to get the ball up the pitch quickly. They're going to have to make sure they're astute and on the ball. They're going to have to make sure they keep Evan Nielsen quiet. There's dangers all over the pitch. When you're coming up against AFC Bournemouth nowadays, it's just beautiful to watch, really, isn't it? And yeah, Eddie's gonna be aware of all this. He's going to be aware of all this. He's probably picking, you know, he is a Eddie Howe is a genius. You know, Iraola is a genius. These two managers are two of the brightest managers in the Premier League, if not, you know, the best two managers in the Premier League at this point in time. Let's be honest, Pep's fallen apart. Arteta, you know, is he really what, you know, Arsenal need? Yeah, Arne Slot, you know, but then again, was it bought all back from Jurgen Klopp? These two managers have been consistent with their size and keep improving them. So yeah, I think, yeah, it hits the nail on the head there. You know, avoid getting sucked into our pressing traps. You know, exploit the white spaces, set pieces, and control the tempo through the midfield. Newcastle have got a very good midfield, but would I say that?
In my opinion, I'm glad you brought that up, because, in my opinion, I think they've got the best midfield three in the league.
But then again, how far are we behind them? I don't think we're that far behind them.
No, absolutely not. But I think when you look at that, I mean, what he's done with that midfield three, I think that's, you know, completely essential to how they play.
Yeah, agree.
But so yeah, like you've just said there, obviously, if they can avoid getting sucked into the traps, you know, the pressing traps, and exploit those wide spaces, then maybe is that the way that Eddie beats us? Malcolm, do you reckon that's how Eddie could do the job, or not? Does there something else he's got to do?
I think it's going to have to be a little bit more than just that. Last season they had a brilliant midfield. They didn't have an answer for us, did they? They fell apart at St James's Park, you know, with that midfield. So there's no given, is there? You've got Tonoli, what's his name, Joe Hilton, and Bruno there. And normally you would say, boy, that is top draw midfield. But last season it didn't work for them against us because of the way we play. So it does depend on opposition, but I think, yeah, he's going to have to find another way. Newcastle do like to play down the flanks, don't they? So that is possibly one way of getting at us. I'm not so sure, you know, if they come down our left side with Traffer, I think he should be okay. Maybe the right hand side, it is a little bit questionable. That is not being negative. That is just being realistic about obviously no Smithy being there and having basically a replacement in his mould. But we'll see on the day, won't we?
Yeah, no, we will. But just to sum up on this, I think this is something that possibly both of you will agree with, that to summarise the two managers, you've got Howe, who builds systems. You've got Andoni, who breaks them.
Yeah.
One crafts a well-oiled machine. The other throws a wench into yours and makes you chase it.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that just kind of explains both the managers in a nutshell, in simple terms. Would you agree,
exactly.
Greg?
Sorry.
Malcolm. Yeah, Malcolm. You as you started.
You go for it. Go for it.
But like I said, with Andoni, it's chaos, isn't it? Which is basically what we're saying here. It's not chaos as in chaotic, really, but it goes against the system. It goes against everything. He's brought this style of football into the club, and we're just loving it. It's stuff that even opposition fans say, "Crikey, look at this lot go." How did they manage this? So yeah, and Eddie is. I always say steady Eddie because that's not right. That's unfair. He is really, he sets his stall out. I just love the guy, and he sets his teams up, and he'll tweak them. He'll tweak them if something's not right there. He won't leave it too late, and he'll change things around. He tries to get everything 100%, doesn't he? So if it works, great. If it doesn't, yeah. But like he says, we go back to the training ground and we assess everything, what happened, and then go again.
Yeah,
it's football. Totally. It's football.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Any last words on this one? Do you agree with this kind of quote for both managers?
Yeah, I think so. I think Eddie did build a system from what was, scraps all those years ago, and he continued to build and build and build and build. Iraola, when he come in, to AFC Bournemouth, he did break the system, as it says there. But then, he rebuilt it.
I think that's talking about opposite when you're playing against each other. So obviously,
exactly.
Got a system. Andoni's style of play is that whatever system he comes up against, he breaks them, rather than that kind of aspect.
But you could see this both sides there. So but yeah, I completely agree. He does. Andoni Iraola, the way the style that we play, the high press. It's both managers are excellent, and I got to agree with everything that's on there and everything that Malcolm said. But just going further back as well, Eddie did have to build from the scraps, and Iraola did break at things when maybe they weren't working, or wasn't going to work long term, and then build them back up. So yeah, just kind of add a spin on that, as I do.
Happy days. That kind of concludes that section. Obviously, we're looking forward to Eddie coming back for the game. And as this is called GEORDIE Connections, obviously the biggest connection we have got, we've already spoken about in the legend, Mr. Howe. But let's have a quick look before we wrap up at some players that have played for both. Now, just before we start looking through these, Malcolm, off the top of your head, how many players do you reckon you could name that have played for both clubs?
I'm not going to cheat because I actually looked earlier on, but sorry, it just so happened. I thought, oh well, I'm coming on tonight. Let's have a look. Okay, you got to say Callum Wilson, Matt Ritchie, Fraser. What's his name?
Actually, I'll be honest with you. I've deliberately left that name out, and that name will not be mentioned again between now and the end of the show.
Yes.
How many names then do you reckon, Malcolm? Can you remember? Well, not names, just a total. Give us a total. Was it 5, 6, 7?
I can't actually remember. There's got to be a dozen.
Craig, get out a guess. I haven't
about 7. I can name them if you want me to.
Let's have a look then. See if you've got these 7 on your mind at the minute. First one, only played on loan. If you remember, played the only time he did play for us was in that dreadful FA Cup game against Boreham Wood. If you remember that one.
Yes.
I believe
Tried
he's
to
now
forget it.
is he what, third choice keeper at Liverpool now, I believe. I think he is at Liverpool, if memory serves me right. So yeah, I'm sure he's not going to get much game time there though. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, of
Oh,
course,
legend.
Callum Wilson. Again, unlucky at Newcastle for injuries, wasn't he, Malcolm? Do you think they saw the best of him, or did Bournemouth see the best of him?
We did.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with
Yeah.
that. I think you'd agree with that as well, Craig, wouldn't you?
Oh, most definitely. You think, how important Callum Wilson was in that promotion winning season, how he took, like to the Premier League like a duck to water, that West Ham win, and West Ham fans instantly disliked him from that point onwards until
Yes.
very recently. So, yeah,
That's
most definitely.
funny that. Of course, Matt Ritchie, who
Yes.
is now obviously still playing at Reading, if memory serves me right. And he's said to be, even though he's well into his 30s now, I remember Pewey telling me that he would probably be the most fittest and energetic player on the training field, even at his age. So, testament to him. But Malcolm, in terms of a servant in a Bournemouth shirt, Matt Ritchie, do you think he should have stayed with Bournemouth a little longer, or do you think he moved on at the right time?
Yeah, was it his choice? I'd like to have seen him stay, actually, to be honest with
I would have done,
you.
but wasn't to be.
Yeah, a bit of an odd one for me. But yeah, I mean, his best days were at Bournemouth, without a shadow of a doubt. A bit like Callum Wilson, so. But he went up and under Eddie's wing and see what he could do. I mean, it started off okay, but then just sort of seemed to fizzle out a little bit, didn't it? And then he was getting bit parts, and hey ho.
Yeah, happens to the best of us, doesn't it? On that one, but Dan Gosling, Craig, had quite a rise in his career, didn't he? He started at Plymouth, and then I think it was Everton first stop, wasn't it? And then from Everton,
was, yes.
But I think really, I mean, in terms of his best football he played, I would definitely say, in my opinion, his best football was at Bournemouth.
Most definitely. I don't know too much about his Plymouth days. I know and I remember, his name being abounded around when he was at Everton. Newcastle, he kind of made more of a name for himself. But yeah, it was Bournemouth where he really cemented, and his career really was cemented. So yes, most definitely, Dan Gosling, was an integral part of our squad for many, many years. A really nice chap as well, very, very down to earth. So yes, I think, Gosling, most definitely. Most definitely was a Bournemouth legend more than a Newcastle legend.
Yeah, no, definitely. Lloyd Kelly, who actually is seen, well, from what I've read recently, is doing really well at Juventus. I've seen much of him. I think he scored a goal the other day. But why didn't it work out for him at Newcastle, do you reckon, Malcolm?
Really don't know. I mean, he left because he was out of contract. So, it was a freebie for Newcastle to take on. I was flummoxed when he didn't make it there. He wasn't getting the game time. And I thought this is a left back or centre to left central defender who really could go a long, long way. I mean, the Cherries fans loved him, didn't they? And he stayed true to the shirt to the very last day. He didn't, throw the toys out of the pram. So I'm going anyway. Very, very professional. So yeah, it was quite disappointing that he couldn't hold a place out at Newcastle. But he's found his niche now in Juventus, I mean, I don't know how much you saw of it. Last weekend was a bit of a blinder. He scored the first goal in a 7-match thriller against Inter Milan. Sorry, that's the German pronunciation. And then in the Champions League, he gave away a penalty. He was a bit unlucky, to be honest with you. But Juventus coming from 4-2 down against Dortmund, and he scored the equaliser in the last minute of injury time. And a very good header it was, a beautiful move. But boy, what a game of football. And it was really interesting to read. I mean, I did post it on our chat, didn't I, that there was an article on the BBC about him.
Yes.
And that Juventus weren't exactly taken to him straight away. And it was only when the new manager came in, they got him in and give him the minutes that he needed. Obviously, he must have spoken with him and different formats, different systems, or whatever. I don't know. But boy, I mean, he gets himself around the pitch. You know, watching that game the other night, I thought, wow, it's good to see, you know, ex-Cherries players doing stuff. You know, even for big clubs. They might be long gone from Dean Court, but you don't forget them, do you? And you always hope that they have a decent game and perform well. And so he's got a springboard now. He's got a couple of goals under his belt. And the crowd are slowly getting round, because they can be a bit finicky, can't they? Juventus fans, if things don't work out, they can turn against you very quickly. So I'm hoping that, you know, that it will continue. Wish him all the best and good luck, you know, for the rest of the season.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we're quickly bypass a couple of the next ones, just very quick. Distan obviously came and joined us in our maiden season in the Premier League and gave us that extra defensive experience at the back, which I think was very, very vital at the time. Obviously played for Newcastle quite a while ago. I think he played with the likes of Shearer and Bellamy and players like that. Christian Atsu, really talented player. I think we got him on loan from Chelsea, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. Was that right? Did we get him on loan from Chelsea?
I seem to remember.
I think we did. But I think he was quite popular at Newcastle, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he was. Leon Best only played on loan for us. Bit of a journeyman. But yeah, had a spell at Newcastle. I don't think he was overly prolific at Newcastle. Or was that his most prolific spell? I can't remember. He had a prolific spell somewhere, but I don't think it was at Newcastle. But yeah, did play for us on loan under Kevin Bond. So, and finally, one from many, many moons ago, he actually made our Northern Ireland squad in one of the cherry picking specials that me and Johnny do every now and then. And that's Dick Keefe, who was a left back, played for the Magpies for a long, long time and ended his career at Bournemouth and Boscombe Athletic Football Club. But that's a few of them. If there's any more, if there's any that we've missed, I'm sure there probably is. Do pop it into the chat. Let us know of any other connections that we may have missed during this Geordie Connection show. But
don't mention one Newcastle player who did play for us as well.
Yeah, it's not even worth bringing up.
No.
So anyway, thank you, Malcolm, for joining us. As always.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
Obviously, you're going on a little holiday soon, so we'll see you when you're back. And enjoy your holiday.
Thanks very much.
And
I shall keep you informed.
Yes, please do. Want to see lots of pictures.
Okay.
Craig, you're about to say something.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reveal Guess the Cherry.
Thank you, because it's normally me that has to remind you, and now you're reminding me. Yes, okay, let's bring that up.
There we are. I tell you what, I'll run through it very, very quickly. So he was born in November 1977. He began his youth career with Charlton Athletic. He signed for the Cherries in 1998 under Mel Machin. He played over 170 times during an injury-hit spell. After leaving Cherries, had a spell at Weymouth as a player and a manager. and he returned to Dean Court under Jimmy Quinn. Who is he? Malcolm, last guess?
No, don't even ask me.
No, I think I know who this is, and it's very apt for this week. And of course,
don't say it's Jason Tyndall.
well, he will be the centre of attention once again, because is it Jason Tyndall or is it somebody completely incorrect? Of course, it's JT.
Wow.
There we are. I thought so. So yes, Jason, he's centre of attention again, Matt.
Yes, he is.
He pops up everywhere, don't he?
He does pop up everywhere.
Yeah.
And he even had a cracking tan back then, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
But yes, as per normal, it's normally me that has to remind you, but this week you've had to remind me. So I'm glad that you did. Otherwise, we'd had to have revealed it next week. Like I made a mess up a few weeks back, forgot to do it, and then you had to do it the week after. But anywho, Craig, thank you for joining me and being a guest, I suppose, this week.
Yes, it's very nice, actually.
Makes a nice change for you.
Yes, it does.
Yes, and obviously stay tuned to the channel. There's plenty of stuff coming up. Obviously, we'll have Cherry Slaps Monday. We've got the Dean Court Social, which is out now. So, yes, there's plenty of stuff coming up onto the channel. Cherry AM, obviously Monday to Friday at 8 a.m. every morning. So, yeah, plenty to watch, and obviously the odd spontaneous show that just comes out every now and then. And also,
do keep in mind, we do have a very special reveal for you next week. So keep your eyes peeled to work out about that reveal. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell. It will be revealed. And we do have a very special interview for the arrival of Leeds. They're back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, and obviously, yeah, like Craig said, subscribe, hit the notification bell. But from Malcolm, Craig, and myself, until the next one, up the cherries.
Up the cherries.
Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.